Here we go. Ooh. YouTube, vinyl community, and beyond. How the devil are you? By jingo, it's bloody warm out there. Oh, it's been well into the 20s past few days. Christ, it makes me wonder how you folk manage over there in places like Texas and goodness knows where else, where it's hotter than a hot thing on a hot sunny day. Yeah, if you're going out, I've had to cancel any gardening I had planned. It's too bloody warm out there for me. If you're going out, keep yourself hydrated. Make sure you're wearing a hat of some description. For those not in the know, outside Britain, this is standard fare for old men at the seaside, or the beach as you lot call it. Right, vinyl finds buys, part 2 for last month. This is LPs. I've got a 12-inch single and a 10-inch single as well. Okay, yeah, let's get started. I don't think I'll be showing the labels. Oh, and one thing I did discover, and this shows how much of a dork and an idiot I am, because I didn't realise this, you know. Holding records up, if it's a bit, I know the lighting's crap in here, I can't help that, I do apologise. If it's a bit dark in that, and you can't see the labels or whatever, the sleeves too clearly, especially if you've got an Android phone, I presume you do the same with an iPhone or your iPad or whatever. Zoom in. Everything's clear as day then. You can see the label. I know everybody in the VC and beyond likes to see the labels and that. Just zoom in. Why didn't I realise that from the very beginning? I don't know. Anyway, enough of this old cobblers. First one, Yardbirds. Remember the Yardbirds? Greatest hits type album. I haven't got a lot of Yardbirds in the collection. They're a fantastic band. I do hear them every so often on the old Golden Oldie radio station. That's on Starline label, under licence from EMI. Yeah, Jeff Beck, Eric Clapton, Jim McCarthy, Keith Relf, Paul Samuel Smith, Chris Drazier. Absolutely cracking album this is. I've played it a couple of times actually. Heart Full of Soul, there's a cover of Smokestack Lightning. Evil Hearted You, For Your Love, that Yardbirds classic. Shape of Things, usual sort of Yardbirds fare, I'd have thought, but cracking. Is some great sort of 60s pop, blues type stuff on here. Yeah, loving it. Remember the Yardbirds, and that's a British release from 1971. Okie doke, we'll put that one there. One of my favourite female vocalists now, Alison Moyet, Rain Dancing. This is also a British release, 1987 on the CBS label. Absolutely, I do love Alison Moyet. Fantastic voice. Electro pop, she can do blues, jazz. She can lend her voice to anything. Fantastic, fantastic singer. Week in the Presence of Beauty, Is This Love? They're the two main ones on here. I can't remember if any of the others on here were chart releases. I've got the other album of hers, which was around more or less the same time as this. I can't remember what it's called though. But yeah, Alison Moyet. Rain Dancing, fantastic album. Love a bit of Alison Moyet, great female vocalist. Yeah, Fine Young Cannibals, another British release, from this is from 1985 on the London Records label. Of course, Fine Young Cannibals were formed by two blokes from the Beat, the English Beat, Andy Cox and David Steele. Of course, with the addition of Roland Gift on vocals. And yeah, I think I've got another, I'm sure I've got another Fine Young Cannibals album in the collection. I've got a couple of their singles as well. They're a great band. Johnny Come Home on here. Suspicious Minds. Blue is another one I sort of remember. Yep, great album. Fine Young Cannibals. Again, highly recommended. All of these except for one, and it'll become except for two. One of them will become evident when I show you it. Yeah, I played them, except for the two I just mentioned. This one was a bit of a blind buy. This is from a car boot sale at Huntingdon Racecourse in Cambridgeshire. It's a band I've heard of, but I can't say if I remember hearing any of their chart singles. And that's the Motels. This was released 1979 on the Capitol label, another British release. Yeah, this was a great album. Really enjoyed this. None of the tracks on the back I can honestly recall, to be honest and fair. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed it. Great sort of new wave kind of type album, band. Some of yous out there probably recognise the odd tune or two or single release from the album. Anticipating, Kicks, Total Control, Love Don't Help, Closet and Bullets, Atomic Cafe, Celia, Porn, Reggae, Dressing Up, Counting. The name's very familiar. I might even have a 7-inch single by them in the collection, but nothing sort of is really grabbing my attention. And nothing springs to mind, but yeah, bit of a blind buy I suppose, but yeah, thoroughly enjoyed that. Unlike the next album I'm going to show, I am a bit of a fan of this lady and her band. This is Debbie Harry and Rockbird, and I've got to honestly say that I was extremely sort of disappointed with this. I've been meaning to dig out Cuckoo from the collection and sort of replay that and re-listen to that and compare it with this. But like a lot of groups and artists, you kind of get sort of stuck in a rut and compare what they're doing at this point with what they did in the past, good stuff, especially Blondie and Parallel Lines, etc. This is a British release from '86 on the Chrysalis label. The only one I can remember from here, and there's bound to be others, again, please point them out to me if you know, is French Kissing. But yeah, to be honest, quite disappointed with this. It didn't cost me a lot, a couple of quid I think. I know it's 80s, but it is a very 80s sort of pop production on this. If you're expecting something like Parallel Lines and their earlier sort of more punchier stuff, you'd probably be a bit disappointed. I know I was. So yeah, Rockbird, Debbie Harry. Not really my cup of tea, but I may revisit it sometime, see how I feel. Unlike this album, and I've played this a couple of times, this is 1979 release on Chrysalis again. Of course, Blondie heavily associated with the Chrysalis label. Eat to the Beat. Yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one. Great album. In fact, this and Parallel Lines, you could say that's all you need, really. Hits on here: Dreaming, cracking tune, Union City Blue. What else we got? Atomic. All of it I thoroughly enjoyed. First time I'd ever heard it as well. Seen it many a time at car boot sales and record fairs and that, but I never really sort of bothered with it. I've got Parallel Lines on album in the collection behind me, and I normally buy singles if I come across them, and if they're in good nick, and I already haven't got them. But I thought, well, what the hell? Let's jump in. Let's have a go. Let's have a listen. Yeah, Blondie, Eat to the Beat. Great record. Really enjoyed that, unlike the Rockbird one, which was heavily disappointed in. Ultravox next. It's 1981. This is a French release, again on Chrysalis. Raging Eden. This is only the second Ultravox album I own. The other one's Quartet. And before I'd purchased Quartet, I'd never heard a single Ultravox studio album in my life. Come to think of it, I never heard a live album, as if they did any. The only Ultravox stuff I heard, owned, was a Greatest Hits album and a few 7-inch singles. And I've been wanting to sort of come across more Ultravox stuff when I've been out in the wilderness, crate digging, out in the wastelands. Again, thoroughly enjoyed this one. You have to excuse me, the writing on here, the track listing is in gold, but it's on a maroon background and it's extremely hard to read. The Thin Wall, that's a great tune. The Voice, another one. They're the only two I recognise. Again, any other tunes on here you know of and that are perhaps single releases, feel free to let me know. But yeah, another great Ultravox album that's worth owning. Raging Eden, Ultravox. This one's a 78. I think I forgot to show this for the last one. I remember showing a 7-inch single. And this is the Goons. I picked this up dirt cheap from a car boot sale, and especially to give to a friend of mine who was a 78 collector and listener, etc. That's the Goons on Decca. The A-side is Blood Knocks Rock and Roll Cool. But again, like the 7-inch single which I've shown of this already, slightly different Decca label, I believe. I got it for this one, the Ying Tong song. Okay, let's get this one out. It's actually in quite a good condition. There's a few sort of smudges and a little bit of dirt on it, so it's gonna need a damn good clean. And of course, it's weighty, as most of these are. You know, you could cut your loaf of bread on this. Fantastic company sleeve. Oh, I love these old company sleeves. Brilliant. So yeah, that's the Goons, British comedy act. I used to see a lot of albums by the Goons at the old car boot sale. We don't see that many of them now for some reason. Fantastic comedy. Peter Sellers, isn't it? the brilliant Spike, well, they were all brilliant. Spike Milligan, Harry Seacombe played Mr. Bumble in the film Oliver, and I believe I'm sure Michael. I mentioned this for the single. I'm sure Michael Bentine had something to do with them as well. But there you go. On the old Decca label, the Goons. Shall give that away to a mate of mine. This one is a group of Birmingham girls from the Midlands. Fuzzbox, or we've got a Fuzzbox and we're going to use it. This is the album Boston Steve Austin. Boston was like it's like a slang word for great, brilliant, you know, that sort of thing. From that particular area where they're from. Bit of a guilty pleasure this, but I've got to admit, when I was a bit younger, I had a bit of a thing for these. Good sort of punky sort of pop type album. I think there's a bit of psychedelia in this as well. All girl band. Tina, Joe, Mags and Vicky. Joe Dunn and Maggie Dunn, sisters. Joe unfortunately passed away a good few years ago. Great album this is. I do have a few of their 12-inch singles as well in the collection. This is on the Vindaloo record label, which I think was distributed by WEA. The full band title was We've Got a Fuzzbox and We're Going to Use It. They went on to try and make it sort of big in America, but it never really quite worked for them. They kind of just drifted away, which is quite sad really, because they did some good tunes. One on here I particularly like, Love Is the Slug. I've got that in 12-inch singles. So that's a good tune. The cover here is Spirit in the Sky. What's the Point? That was a single release. Rules and Regulations, which was their first release, and that one I've got it on 12-inch single. That one topped the indie charts for about a month, I think, here in Britain. When they started, it only really sort of started off as jokily. I think somebody asked them if they could sort of perform at a gig, and they said yeah we'll do that, but they couldn't really play any instruments properly, and so they were learning as they went along, and obviously got better. But yeah, great sort of punky pop type band, Fuzzbox. I've got both of their albums now in my collection, and that's a good listen, a real good listen. 12-inch single. I've shown this in one of Ian's live streams. The Truth, Confusion Hits Us Every Time. Good mod revival band, The Truth. This is from 1983 on the WEA label. Good single, good tune actually. Not a bad band, The Truth. Next one up. This is a contender for Buy of the Year for me. Great album, great listen, quite a common album. I've seen it quite a few times in VC videos. I've seen it quite a few times at record fairs. The odd occasion at the old car boot sales, but I've either passed it by because I wanted to buy other stuff. It's been in crap condition, etc, etc. That's the Rezillos. Can't stand the Rezillos. Perhaps a bit of a grail for me. Finally got hold of a copy at record fair at Peterborough a few weeks ago. Went with a good friend of mine. This was the first purchase of the day. This is a British press, 1978 on Sire Records, and I absolutely love this. It is a cracking, storming album. Contender at least for Buy of the Year for me. Definitely contender for Listen of the Year. Absolutely fantastic. Loved it to bits. The main one I love on here is Somebody's Gonna Get Their Heads Kicked In Tonight, which features featured on one of the Jackass films, didn't it? I think it might have been the first one when they're in the golf buggy and they're crashing around all over the bleeding place. I think that was the one. Yeah, another famous one on here, Top of the Pops. I've got that one on 7-inch single. That was actually Top of the Pops single was a piss take. It was a piss take of the actual Top of the Pops programme. And the BBC, being the bunch of useless bastards and fuckwits they are, I've got no liking for the BBC. Thought it was some sort of kind of tribute to them, you know that, and they had the Rezillos on the programme, but it was a Mickey take, piss take out of them. There you go. Yep, can't stand the Rezillos. Definite contender for one of my purchases of the year. Loved it. Look, out of all the ones I'm showing today, that's my absolute favourite. Another 12-inch single, Judge Dredd, the king of rudeness himself. This one's called The Touch, and it's totally different to anything by Judge Dredd you may have heard. I'm a fan of the music. You don't have to well, if you've never heard any of Judge Dredd's stuff, he was an artist from back in the 70s. He was more prominent. He worked with Prince Buster. I think he did security for the great Prince Buster. I think he was the first white English bloke to have a reggae hit over in Jamaica. So he did like sort of Jamaican reggae type, skinhead reggae type stuff, which was a bit rude, a bit crude, misogynistic, I suppose you could say homophobic, whatever. Like I say, I like the music. You don't have to agree with the sentiment, do you? But yeah, Judge Dredd, the king of rudeness. He used to have his tunes and that were banned from airplay on BBC Radio. And other stations, some of them wouldn't play them till after a certain time during the day, usually 9 o'clock in the evening. This one, The Touch, is something totally different to what you'd expect from him. This is more sort of disco stuff. This is a 1979 release though on EMI Records. He sort of had a bit of a revival back in the 80s with the scooter riding scene, etc. I did see him. Actually, the B-side, just say first, the B-side going down is more of his sort of reggae type fare. I saw him about a month or so, I think, before he passed away. He actually passed, I think he passed away coming off the stage of a gig. Well, he suffered a heart attack, and coming off, I think his last words were, you know, give a big hand, a round of applause to the band. And when he was coming off stage, he had a heart attack. And it sounds rotten to say, but it was a bit of a comedic affair, because I remember reading a little piece in the paper at work back in the day when it happened. Ambulance was called to the scene, got him in the ambulance, but the ambulance wouldn't start. It had a flat battery. So they had loads of sort of skinheads and that, and people at the gig trying to give the ambulance a push start just to get it turned over and going. The police turned up, apparently, didn't know what the hell was going on, and then started arresting people because they thought they were trying to steal or vandalise the ambulance. What a bloody performance, eh? But yeah, unfortunately, he died, passed away. I count myself lucky to have seen him about a month or so before that happened. That was down in the Essex area, I believe it was. But yeah, that's Judge Dredd. Now, you're probably wondering, well, if you've seen my Instagram account, I do post on Instagram, started doing it past couple of months, mostly what I'm listening to and what I'm buying. I've shown a couple of albums in these sort of scented waste bags, and you're probably wondering why. Well, these old cardboard sleeves and that tend to soak up a lot of the odours and smells from around the air. And that's the rough mix, Townsend and Ronnie Lane. Ronnie Lane, of course, from the Small Faces and that. These two, when I got them, and I'll get the other one out, that's in this one, same situation as the other one. I don't mind a little bit of the old sort of musty odour and that. You sometimes get it when you buy a lot of records, and I don't know, there's something sort of pleasing about it, you know. It sort of comes with age, I suppose, the age of the record. This one as well, that's Bruce Foxton from the Jam, and this one as well was stinking of cigarette smoke. I'm an ex-smoker. I haven't smoked a cigarette since the early to mid-90s. But they were honking. They were honking of cigarette smoke. So I thought, well, what the hell do I do? The records are fine. They play well. Really enjoying them. But that's getting better. Another couple of weeks or so in that bag and that'd be okay. So I come up with the idea. I thought, well, I've got some scented waste bags downstairs in the kitchen. Stick them in that for a good while, perhaps a couple of months or so, see how it goes. That one's, the Bruce Foxton one's a lot better. This is the Townsend Ronnie Lane one. That's a bit better. That's got that kind of old musty kind of smell now. You can't smell the acrid cigarette smoke. I have got a 12-inch single by Townsend and Ronnie Lane in the collection. Is it Street in the City? Something like that? I can't remember now. I'd have to dig it out. But that's on the, I'll show this label. That's on the Polydor one. Okay, so yeah, those two honking cigarettes. It's kind of reminds me of the time I used to sort of waddle home from the pub back in the 90s when I was living in a flat and bedsit and that. I used to waddle back from the pub with my Chinese takeaway, stinking of cigarettes and beer and booze. Them were the days. Oh yes. That's the Bruce Foxton one. Touch Sensitive, the album's called. On Arista. It's on an Arista label. And that's not bad. I had my doubts about this album, but I knew one song off of it called Freak. I don't know, if, to be honest, if he had any more single releases, whether he did another album, but yeah, Bruce Foxton, him of the Jam, who now sort of plays in a sort of can only be described as a jam tribute type band called From the Jam, and they are good. They were playing with the Selector, and me, the daughter, the eldest lad, and family friend, and that went to go and see him at Lincoln. But yeah, he also played for a while with Stiff Little Fingers, Bruce Foxton. But yeah, that's getting better. That's a hell of a lot better. So yeah, that's it. That's it, folks. Thank you very much. Bless you for tuning in during your busy day. Hope there was something of interest there to you. Please feel free to leave a comment if there's anything about the albums you want to point out or something I've missed, etc. Till next time, God bless you. Stay hydrated in this hot weather. Keep your head covered. Good old knotted hanky. Bless you. See you again soon. Cheerio. Oh God, there go my bloody knees. Bugger it.